inside, there is this feeling growing. I feel the worst, tears running down my face. Make it stop, the world is driving me crazy. I need a light in the dark. I can't take voices stuck in my head, screaming loud, telling 1,000 lies. Love is trying
This nice beautiful day. Just got by my friend's house to install the Lab 3 Turbo Kit. I just gotta wait for my friend. We should probably see him drive up pretty soon. He doesn't live too far from here anyways. Friend's a friend's house and oh, is that him? There he is. Start the day with a cup of Pete's.
Yep. Not in the line, but we were.
And now you're not going. Could you imagine a power move?
What are you doing, you dumb kitty?
Damn kitty. Oh, benefits.
You're gonna not get head scratches like you anymore.
Top quality, high shelf, top shelf.
I know.
The way you sit, you swing. I'm caught up in everything. I never just woke up, but I just gotta walk up the same. I just wanna wake up to you right now. I never just say things, but I will never say anything that will have you right now. I never just woke up, but I just gotta walk up the same. I just wanna wake up to you right now. I never just say things, but I will never say anything that will have you right now. I see you moving and swaying, locked in my eyes, I'm so fixed on every turn that you taking. I'm taken in by.
So there's a skid plate or skid pad underneath, tons of bolts around. They're mostly just push pins they could use. That's really nice. Here's the new turbo kit. We have the intake pipe right here. We have the one that goes out. Fuck it, I'm so tired right now, I can't speak. Really beautiful exhaust manifold. Reminds me of Mugen pipes from Honda Civics. Tile wastegate. So special thing about this wastegate, since I do not have a boost solenoid, it will get this stainless steel line. It'll tap into the little tiny brass tiny pipe right there. It screws in. I don't know why this is so long. You probably don't have to have it this long, but it's nice to have. What you'll actually need to do, which is very special, which is the most fab work you'll have to do, you'll want to take out the turbo housing right here. And the way to do that, super easy. There's this little tiny clamp, it's a 10 mil. Take this out, take this guy out right here, it's another 10 mil. This clamp comes out, you can twist the turbo around, and you can pull it out, and that will remove the little tiny blades. And from there, you probably want to get a shop to do it, or if you're confident, get a drill to drill into this little tiny nipple. And you want to tap this so you could get a little vacuum hose attached to it, kind of like the stock turbo. Right here, where it already has this tapped-in hose for pressure and boost, which will do the same thing as this entire kit. Goes around into, I think it's some kind of boost solenoid, not entirely sure. In this case, it goes into this wastegate that actuates in the exhaust manifold, but for us, since we have the external wastegate, we don't need to do that. It just actuates in here and release it straight back into the downpipe. So that's that update. It's recommended you probably remove your wheels first as the first thing, because you do have to take out the bottom subframe, which is over there, which will also take out your front sway bar. So if you're doing this mod, get the Lap 3 Turbo, and you are thinking about replacing your rear sway bar, which are pretty damn easy, since you're removing the subframe already, you might as well replace the front sway bar, just because it's right there, and you're not really wanting to remove that a lot of times. It's just a hassle, tons of bolts. These guys, I believe they were 17 millimeter on the bottom. I believe these were around the same 17s. Don't know exactly what foot-pound. My guess is they're 90 and above and a little bit more. These bolts right here, that is your steering rack, which you can kind of see what that jack stand is propping up. That is your steering rack, so that will be removed, and you don't have to completely remove that. Thank God there's enough clearance. You do want to remove the little, I'm forgetting what this is called. It's too tired. It's around 11 p.m. at night. We've been working on this for almost 12 hours, probably even more, or I've been working on it for more than 12. But you want to, this attaches to the upper suspension right here, and you want to remove that so you could actually bring down the subframe. Like I said, you want to also remove the bolts from the steering rack so that the subframe could drop down from that as well. Pro tip with the brakes, if you accidentally lifted it, it's okay. If you have two people, it's really nice, because one person could step on the brakes in the car and the other person could use an impact gun and pull them out. Or if you just have an impact gun, you could just pull them out probably. Careful not to strip anything. Never tighten down bolts with an impact gun. That's always a bad idea. Here is the OEM intake pipe right here. What you replace it with is this little pipe. And if we go in here, this will replace where the OEM housing is. These two bolts, if you can see, will replace this little head, this little bolt right here, and bolt in straight in. And from there, you're gonna have to do a little bit of creative work. If you have a 6 intake, this is where the creativity comes. What I'm most likely gonna do, since the other option is to use this, it's the little, I believe 2.5 inch, or it could be 3-inch piping that Lap 3 gives you, which turns into a pseudo short ram intake. But what I'm probably going to do is cut about 1 inch, as there's not too much of a good conversion going on. So that pipe that I just showed you will fit into the end of this pipe that goes straight onto your turbo. And so the inch will fill in this gap, and then the other inch for the 6 intake will fill into this little tiny gap, and then the 6 intake will be here, and then it might be shifted slightly out, but it shouldn't really give you too much of an issue. I haven't tested yet, but it should work. And that's the little tiny fab work that I have to do alongside the turbo housing. The other option, if you want to keep it easy, is you could go to AutoZone and find another silicone boot, because I feel like there might be one missing. I'm not entirely sure. If I lost it, I doubt it. But you basically want to be able to get a silicone boot that attaches 2 of these pipes together. And at the end, once again, if you have the AM pipe is a 3.5 inch diameter head, so it will definitely not fit this, as it's about like a 2.5 or just a 3-inch, like I said. So you might need to get a new filter as well if you decide not to use the original short ram intake that you have right here. That's mostly the intake. If you're pretty savvy, I'll not lie, it's still pretty difficult, because you do have to drop the subframe. You have to be fairly confident. There is a coolant line and an oil line that you have to remove. So be wary. You will basically lose all of your coolant, so you want to have that. Oil, not so much. You just want to have enough to refill a little bit, probably about 1 quart at most. But luckily I have coolant in the back, so that's not an issue. If you're doing it yourself, make sure you have at least 1 or 2 friends with you. That is very important. It'll make your life so much easier. Just because there's certain things that you need 2 people to carry as it's super hard, or you might need 2 people to just take out a bolt, because some of these bolts are extremely tight, especially subframe bolt and that fucking dog bone that's your lower engine mount. Tip on the lower engine mount, I would remove that last, or keep it in there as long as possible, because once you remove the lower engine mount and you try to pull out bolts, you'll end up twisting the engine or like moving the engine with your socket wrench, which means you're not getting enough torque to torque out or wrench out some of the sockets or some of the bolts, sorry. So you want to do that, and it might just make your lives a little bit easier. That's one of the things we struggled with. Another thing that we kind of struggled with was getting out the exhaust manifold on the OEM. Honestly, besides this one back there, which honestly, if I was able to see it like I did right now, it might be easy. You just need a giant extender, and you could probably have a clear shot. Same thing with all of these. With an extension, you could actually reach every single one of these 9 bolts, and you could all do this from the top of the engine bay, and that might be the easiest way to do this. Honestly, I took 3 of those bolts from the bottom, and it was the hardest thing in the world. Don't do that. Go from the top. It might be kind of hard trying to figure out where they are, but once you get them in, you could take them out. They're not torqued in too tight. As long as you have a fairly meaty socket wrench, I think that's what they're called. I'm sorry, it's super late. It's over like 12, 13 hours since I've been working on this. But you should be able to do it by hand. If not, just get like a little extender, like a treat bar. Just like take one of your sockets and just extend it just a little bit to pull it out. Because of shipping, you might want to clean out some of the housings, remove all of these things. It's not too hard. This little tri-down pipe thing will not be removable unless you also remove the wastegate. So once you remove the wastegate and you remove these bolts, then it will all come out as one piece. Be careful because this might fall out. If you just remove these bolts, it will not come out. If you just remove that and this, it will also not come out. You have to actually remove all 3 for it to come out. It's one of those perfect fitting things. There's a gasket in here, so be wary of that. There's no gaskets here. It's just like a little sealed tight fitting, and these keep it in. So that's part 1 right now of what I could talk about in the 10 minutes my phone could record. Hopefully I'll be back with something fixed or something up and running. Cool. Guys, I'm back here. It's just same thing. I forgot a couple things, which is why I'm kind of looping back. I just got to talk about some of the useful tools that you'll probably really want to buy or have in hand if you decide to do this yourself. So these socket wrenches, or just wrenches in general, have this little tiny socket in them that turns them basically into a socket wrench. So it gives you the lowest profile to work with, which you'll need in a couple typed spots. Note that these are pretty cheap, roughly. I think a kit of like 6 of them right here were about 20 bucks at Harbor Freight. They're very useful. It would have saved us a lot of time if we bought this at the beginning, but we didn't. We were dumb. But buy one of these, very useful. Another thing you probably want to buy, just help yourself getting into tight spots, is one of these universal joints. These allow you to have a lot of swivel room and get your socket wrenches into very tight corners and corners that are very difficult. This is very useful. I wish we had it at the beginning. You should buy them if you decide to do this yourself. Make sure you have a slurry of tools ranging from all the way to 8mm, and I believe there's a special one somewhere here. I can't remember, but yes, I believe the smallest one we went to was an 8mm. You will use the 10mm for basically all of your hose clamps almost in your engine bay. The 11mm uses like for 2. You could ignore that really. 12mm VIP, tons of 12mm bolts under the engine. Another big one, we used a 17 mil right here, and this will be very useful for a lot of these subframe bolts. As you can see, not that one, but there are a couple subframe bolts. I cannot see them right now. Here's one right now. There you go, subframe bolt. I believe this belongs to the steering rack, which is up there. That is all 17 mil. I believe the sway bar is also 17 mil. Yes, the sway bar and the links are also 17 mil, so that's another useful thing. The sway bar bolts themselves, I believe there's something smaller. I believe they're 14, so that's another very important one. Obviously, you'll want 22s for your wheel lug nuts, and just get a slurry of tools. It's all useful. Impact gun is very useful taking out some of the wheels and some of the components, but in terms of engine parts, taking out any of the sensors, if I can find them real quick, I think I just threw them off somewhere. Just put out, here we go. So you have your, I don't remember which sensors they are. One of them is the O2 sensor, one goes into your downpipe, which is this one right here, and this goes into your mid pipe, and you don't want to use power tools, you'll strip them. You could easily do this by hand. You just need to get like a longer bar so you get some leverage to pull them out, and you have the space to do it. We did it. You can have the space to do it as well. It's not too hard. Just note that you're twisting this cable when you do it initially. So this O2 sensor from the downpipe that goes right in here from the OEM, it might be easier if you unclip it from the top. It looks like this. If you unclip it from the top and then remove these two bolts, which I believe were 12s, one was a 12 and one was a 10, it was kind of weird, but you remove this and you want to take this out once you get the exhaust manifold out of the engine bay. It'll just make your life a lot easier and you won't break it. This O2 sensor was in the mid pipe, super easy, just put your hands in there, just start twisting and it comes off. There's the mid pipe down there. You can't really see it because it's really dark. It's like still 11:30, 11 something p.m. at night. Whatever you use, we use Cheat Bar, this guy. If I want to talk about true MVP, this is the MVP of the day. This literally is part of our extension of our little jacks setup. And we just take this tube, because it's a two-piece for easy transportation. You just fit this at the end of any socket or screw that it fits in. The other side is hollow, gives you a bit more space, and you just pull it in, and it's a little ghetto breaker bar, but it works, and it's great. And we've used it for over, I don't know, like 15 bolts probably at this point. But if you don't have a really big breaker bar, that's a good option, or if you need more leverage on your breaker bar, that is a torque wrench. But it's broken, so we're using it as like a pseudo breaker bar. Ignore that. There's a little bit of oil that drains from your drain pan after you take out the turbo drain plugs and drain lines from your OEM turbo. You might want to fit like a screw back in, or you might want to just stuff it with like a towel because it will keep on leaking as the engine tilts, and for some reason it just keeps leaking, so be wary of that. Just plug it up. The subframe, the easiest thing to do obviously is unbolt everything and get a jack stand propped up to it so it holds the weight. Have at least 2 people under it, which is why you want at least 3 people, probably 2 or 3 people. And what you want to do is once you get the last bolt down, you want a person on each end. Grab it and slightly pull it back. What is the biggest issue is this guy, which is the control arm. That will also socket right into the subframe. This part actually goes straight into the subframe, and that bushing also fits onto the subframe. So what you want to do is prop that up, push it up, wiggle it out, which is also why it's important that you take out the sway bar, because I believe it holds that in slightly. But in most cases you could kind of just wiggle this out if it helps get someone in there to turn the steering wheel. So this entire assembly will shift and will give you a bit more space to slide it out. And then what you want to do is pull out the subframe towards the back a little bit, and then you could just drop it. It should come out pretty easily. But I think I went over most of it. Sockets, like I said, you want something as small as an 8mm. I believe is the smallest we went, and the biggest we ever got to was a 24mm. So you want to just be aware of that. Those are the ranges, so as long as you have it within that range, you should be fine. You probably want a wrench kit that also goes from around 10 to roughly about 20-ish millimeter if you have it. They usually don't come in kits if you do a 20 unless it's like a bigger kit. So just be wary about that. I will talk about how the piping will work in just a second. But for now, that's the end of this segment of the video. So the small thing where you're going to want to tap your oil feed line. This is your oil filter. There is an oil pressure sensor right there, so what that means, there's going to be high oil pressure, or at least some oil pressure going that means the oil is going to come out, which means this is where your tap is going to be. There's going to be a little brass tap that has very fine threads, and you're going to thread that in. Note that it's not going to go in all the way. Don't be worried, just tighten, hand tighten, should be fine. That's how it was tightened originally, and you'll get a stainless steel line. Sorry about this, I'm kind of tired. My neck is giving in. You'll get a stainless steel line running through here underneath, and this is your hot side pipe. It will run alongside it under here, right next to your oil pan. It'll come back up and it will feed straight into your turbo. Then that's where it's going to go. And you should only need 2 stainless steel lines to feed the oil. And then if you could see the little tiny, this is where the oil drains into. You'll have a little piece right here. That's kind of like a little L, and you'll have another L that'll literally be like right above this drive shaft. And all that you need to connect them is this tiny little oil line, just like a little rubber oil line. And it will fit between this little housing and over there. I'll give you a look at what that looks like. So on the turbo, it's this thing right here. They only fit in one way. Little battle scar dug deep through the layer skin. Ignore that, but it only goes in one way. This is the oil drain. It goes onto the side. And right here, ignore this. This is completely inoperable. You don't care about this. This is where your coolant feed and exit used to be, but we have deleted the coolant feed and exit, which is why we don't give a shit about this. So this could be left open. Doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about anything going in there because it's just a dead end in there, so ignore that. You don't have to touch it. I got scared, but David's a cool guy. He explained a lot of these components to me. So like I said, there's 2 of these pieces. The right piece will go into the turbo, and like I said, it's this little tiny pipe that you'll have a little rubber hose right here. And like I showed you on the engine block, this is the piece that will go into the drain pan, oil drain pan. It'll basically fit in like this, and then it'll do a little curve and it'll fit into that. It's a very small distance it needs to travel, so this is all you really need. For the gasket, I'm not sure if it just didn't come in the mail or it somehow fell out one of these bags, which kind of sucks, but you could for now reuse the one that came off of your original turbo, which is this thing. I don't have it on me right now. Oh, here it is. So this is the original oil drain line, and the bracket is on. They have it on both sides. They're the same size. The only thing is they won't really clip on, so that's the only downside. But all you really need to do is press that against it, tighten it, and it's a little gasket sealer. Once again, it probably comes with a kit, but I don't know, but it just disappeared within shipping and handling. Checked all my boxes, wasn't there. And yeah, so that's that piece. And as you can see, there's a little tab right here. That's the gasket that comes from, that should come with the kit. So it's right here. And so that's that. Oh, sorry about that. Pipe. The kit for me, since I am going to put a boost controller in it eventually, The wastegate right here currently has 1.2 bar springs already installed. It's roughly around 17 psi with the boost gate or boost gauge / boost adjuster. I'm tired, long day, sorry again. But with that, I could push it up to around 22, 23, 24. And those springs by themselves, if you wanted to just not put a boost adjusting device, you want to just straight have 22 psi, those are the springs that you would most likely use. You will put 3 springs into the wastegate to get that 22 psi boost, so remember that. There is a little chart. I'll see if I can put it on here once I grab it from my phone later. But you'll be wanting to put 3 springs in there to reach 22 psi, and then from there, you don't have to use any electronics. It'll always be at that psi, so that's all good. It'll always hold it, so you don't have to worry about anything. But for me, I decided to use a boost controller because I felt it might be better for daily driving. Just because I could put it on a lower boost if I'm daily driving and I don't want to use too much fuel or I don't want to go too crazy. And then if I want to race someone or someone wants to race me on the streets, or if I go to the drag strip, I could pump it up to 24 psi and just run the street. Probably burn out my tires, honestly. Fun stuff. You definitely want to get new engine mounts. I highly recommend them. Unfortunately, right now, I do not believe anyone makes the Dogbone, or I mean the top engine mount right here. I don't believe anyone makes stiffer engine mounts currently. The only engine mounts that I know that Six used to have, which currently is not on the market, it's still in development is what they said, but that's the Dogbone. You at least want to get a stiffer version of that so that your engine doesn't twist towards you. As you can see, I could kind of move the engine around right now. It kind of wiggles. Don't know if you can see that, but it wiggles right now with the Dogbone off, and with the Dogbone on, it doesn't do that, but with all the twisting force from all the components inside, it already shakes a little bit because that's what engines do. So spend more. You'll have a lot of these that will replace some really stupid ass clamps, hose clamps. Now these are covered by this little pin device. I don't know if it'll focus, but this pin device covers the little head, which I believe these are the 8mm. And you just take a flat head, prop them in between, pop them out. I don't know why they have these. It's really fucking annoying. No idea. It's not like someone's going to steal your hose clamps, but you just pop them out, take an 8mm, undo them. It's a regular hose clamp, so on and so forth, so that's pretty easy. Yeah, and that's another part of this video. Thanks for watching. Really quick, probably like 2 minutes. If you bought the Lap 3 turbocharger kit, you mostly needed to either send in your ECU or get a new ECU. So to replace your ECU is extremely simple. I won't do it now because I'm tired and it's not the time to do it. But you want to take out your intake box. If you have an OEM intake box, it'll just be a couple bolts somewhere here, right there. Pull them out, and they should kind of just twist out. There's a hose clamp, just all like a huge amalgamation. You might need to pull those out to take out the plastic tube. Once you have an exposed battery, this is what you want. You want to detach the negative terminal and possibly the positive terminal if you want to be, or actually you should, because we'll be removing the battery. The only thing holding in the battery is this little tiny bracket. I believe this is a 12mm, so just take a 12mm socket, twist. It's very hand tight, so just unbolt and this entire thing comes off, and the battery is like a solid 40 pounds, 50 pounds, I don't know, it's extremely heavy. Once these two are out, you could just raise the little handle, cute little handle, and then pull, and then brush it away. What that will expose is the back of this tray, which there are little tiny bolts on the very bottom that hold this entire tray in place. I believe they are 10mm, and there's just two. You just unbolt, and from here you want to unclip the ECU from the entire wiring harness. It's really simple. All you do is push in these little clips on the top, so make sure you push them in, and then it unlatches and it comes out. Really simple. If you don't do this, you'll rip out the entire thing. You don't want to do that. or else you'll end up like someone on the Elantra forums or in Elantra Facebook page. You don't want that to happen. He says don't do it. Just push down this clip and then pull up, and it should pop out automatically. This should be the first one coming out, and then this will come second. When you put it back in, you want to do the opposite. Put this run first, put that one in second. From there, when you take off the back plate, the ECU is held in by 4 10mm bolts onto the plate right here, on there, and there's 2 on the bottom, which is why you want to remove this entire back plate, because it'll just make access to it extremely easy, and this entire process right here is simple in itself. So you unbolt those, take out these, and then unbolt all 4, because this will be on its face flat. There might be a little hose right here, some kind of cable. You could just pop these out if they get in the way. But yeah, pop them in, grab your new ECU, which honestly looks more OEM than an OEM ECU, funny enough. And you just reverse everything. You bolt them back into this little bracket, pop these back in, put the entire assembly, bolt it back on to the battery holder, whatever this is called, and then just reverse, put the battery back on, secure it tight if you don't do this, and the car lurches forward. This entire battery could just pop out and rip apart your terminals and smash into the front frame and even possibly drop into the engine bay. You don't want that, so very important that you keep this tight, and it will just settle by himself. Just hand tight it and a little bit more after that. Don't have to do anything crazy. And then once again, you want to just put back the positive terminal. If you get anal and you want to align it, you could move this entire thing along it and then tighten it down. And then once again, the negative terminal battery, just pop it on, 10mm socket. Same thing with here, 10mm socket, secure it. And then the tip is, when you get back into your car, you want to put it on. Do not push the brake pedal, just push the start button, push to start twice, and that'll put it into just like an on mode. Your speakers will go off, and you want that to last about around 30 seconds and let it just sit there. And then once that happens and you've passed 30 seconds, turn it off, give it a second or two to press the brakes to start the car officially, push in the start power start. You might want to hold it in for about 3-ish seconds, maybe 5-ish seconds. The first start is always the long one. What is happening is the ECU is receiving a code from whatever computer, which is the code that deactivates and makes sure that your ECU cannot be used in any other car. Push in the start stuff, and you push it in. It might take 5 seconds, like I said. Don't worry, it's really hard for it to start at the beginning. Wait for that, it starts, you're good to go. Make sure you have 1-step colder plugs, the HKS plugs that are 1-step colder. There are 10mm bolts that hold them in, pop them out. Just a regular spark plug socket will do, with a giant extender just to go into the block. Pretty typical spark plug stuff. They are gapped at around 26. Whatever it is, 26, that's the number, is where it should be gapped to, around 26 or 28. I'd go with 26, and to torque them down, you just need around 15 to 20 foot-pounds of torque, nothing crazy, for each socket, and then just make sure you put them back into the right place on the fuel rail, or into the rail. You're good to go.